So after a while, he ventures back out and finds that, oh no, quarantine, and convinces some guy to take him home with him. And then we get to see what every average American was doing during quarantine, which is entertaining, but also a little too close to home. Like, hurts my heart just a little bit. Thank you for joining me for yet another episode of the Everyman Movie Review, and I am so excited that there are new movies that we can talk about. At least the next 2 episodes are going to be about brand new movies that you're going to be able to find on streaming. But this week we are going to start out with Borat, subsequent Moviefilm, which is essentially Borat 2, or maybe it should be called something else, but we'll get back to that in a little while. Before we get too far into the movie, let's go ahead and get the pleasantries out of the way, shall we? Borat subsequent Moviefilm was directed by Jason Woliner. It was written, of course, by Sacha Baron Cohen, Anthony Hines, Dan Swimmer, Peter Banham, Erica Rivinoja, Dan Mazer, Jenna Friedman, Lee Kern, with a story by credit going to Sacha Baron Cohen, Anthony Hines, Dan Swimmer, Nina Pedrad, and of course based on the characters created by Sacha Baron Cohen. Now, after that list, let's go through the cast list, which is actually shorter than the writers. Sacha Baron Cohen as Borat Sagidev, as Borat Sagidev, Maria Bakalova as Tutar Sagiev, Tom Hanks as himself, at least in very short order from the beginning, Dani Popescu as Premier Nazarbayev, Manuel Vieiro as Dr. Yamak, Miroslav Tolj as Nursultan Tulyakbai, Eileen Popa as Huey Lewis and Jeffrey Epstein Sagdiev, Ian Georgi as Bilak Sagdiev, and Marcela Kodrea and Luka Nelu as Kutsek villagers. So does lightning strike twice? Well, in the darkness and the depression that is all of the world that we're living in now, with quarantine and COVID out there, and basically just the year not being what it is. I mean, I've heard people say they're not even counting this year towards their birth years because, I mean, I kind of wasted 36, right? I think that we have to define lightning striking in a completely different way. When Borat, the first movie, struck, I was in college or law school, somewhere around there, and I was a young guy who was basically the core market for this movie. And I loved it. I was one of those annoying people who went around quoting Borat. Maybe not still that person. I do know some people who still quote Borat pretty often. I do use the GIF a lot of like, very nice. Like, I use that one from time to time, but only because people can hear it when I do it. And that's the kind of GIFs I like, that are so into the world that people can actually hear it when they see it. But if this movie had come out at any other time in any other year, I probably would have said bit of a miss, because it would probably have been in a crowded field full of way other movies and a lot of stuff going on, and it would have been a question of like, wow, did I really feel like I got the full experience from Borat 2 that I was expecting based on how the first one hit me? But as I said, this is not that year, right? Things are a little different, and therefore I think the full impression of the movie is completely different. But if you don't remember the first Borat movie, it is about a reporter from Kazakhstan who comes to the United States to figure out why America is so great and take those lessons back to his home country. And what we find out in the second movie is that he did that, but that he wasn't fully successful, that he ended up getting locked away in a gulag, which is not where he was. He was really in a work camp. And that his co-reporter guy, the guy who was like naked the entire first movie, got turned into a chair, which is ironic because, a little spoiler alert here, you see his penis one last time, and I just feel like that really made the movie. I'm just kidding. It absolutely did not make the movie, and it happened so early on that it catches you off guard. But with a new president coming to power, one who maybe, let's say, would be more open to influence from other countries, the country of Kazakhstan says we need to send someone there to get into his good graces. Obviously, he's going to meet with North Korea and with Sudan and with all of the countries of the Middle East, and we need our premier, to meet with him as well. So they decide they're going to give him a gift. They're going to give him the gift of the most popular director in all of Kazakhstan, who is a monkey. And of course, the movies he directs are pornography. So little wild right from the jump, and they realize pretty quickly that they can't present this directly to him because rules. So they're going to try and give it to Mike Pence. And it's hard to say what would be a spoiler here and what wouldn't, but this is a part that I found really interesting. I remember from earlier this year when someone in a Trump mask carrying a doll or some sort of mannequin interrupted CPAC and was dressed as Donald Trump and basically was shouting at Mike Pence. And I remember this story, and it is crazy that we basically got to see the setup and delivery of that joke from the other angle, because that was Sacha Baron Cohen as Borat. But, so the plan is that the monkey is going to be a gift to Mike Pence, which is why he was at CPAC for Mike Pence. But the monkey gets to travel on a cruise ship across to America. Borat has to be in steerage, so he goes all around the world the long way to get back to the America, and he's going to meet the monkey. And when he gets the monkey off the ship and meets him and he opens up the container, it's not a monkey. And here's why I have to go back, because I realized I skipped this whole part. When he's chosen because he is the most recognizable figure from Kazakhstan and somebody who could, with the most couth, give this gift with the understanding of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's do this thing. It's a gift in exchange for something, of course. And there's a whole list of people, and they check him off, and he's the one who's left. So they get him out of the work camp, the gulag, as he calls it, and he's able to go back to see his family for the first time in 10 years because he's been in the work camp. And when he goes home, he gets to see his family again. He sees that his sons have changed their names to something less embarrassing. Those names are, of course, Jeffrey Epstein and Huey Lewis. And he's also found that his neighbor has moved into his house, taken his wife, taken all his possessions, his cow, goat, I think, but all of his stuff, and has now occupied it, and he's been there for the last 10 years. And so he has nothing left, except as he was going to America, apparently he had a daughter, which he doesn't remember, and I don't remember, but she must have been very young at the time, and now she's all grown up. She's 15 years old, and as Kazakh tradition says, she is held in the barn, not in the house, because that's how women are treated, and that's a funny joke that'll only get funnier as the movie goes on. So, cut back to America, and he opens the container that's supposed to have the monkey in it, and it's his daughter, because she has snuck her way in, and obviously it was a long trip, and she got hungry, so she killed the monkey and ate it, although she tells him that he killed himself and ate himself, apparently. So Borat believes that, and now he doesn't know what to do, and he has to send a fax back to Kazakhstan because they don't have email, all they have is fax. And it's agreed that he will, instead of giving the monkey to Mike Pence, he will give his daughter to Mike Pence, because at 15, she's only slightly too old to be married off to a powerful politician, or given to, not really married, given to a powerful politician. And thus begins the real arc of the story, him and his daughter in America. And I think I'll just cut it right there, and I'll go through a bit of the spoiler section. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, because you want to hear the movie, cut down to the time down below, but make sure you come back, because we will have my final thoughts and kind of my summary of that movie. I have a lot to say on that when we return. But go now, because the spoilers are about to start right here. So the daughter is, completely unattractive, but in a way that is maybe 2 steps beyond She's All That, where you can't really tell she's super attractive underneath, but I can tell they have done a lot of things to ugly her up. And he goes about the American way, which is cutting the hair and dyeing the hair and plucking and tweezing and tanning. And of course, all of these steps have jokes like, how tan should I be if I want to attract a rich white man? And the girl's like, well, you probably don't want to go any farther than this. And she's like, and they're racist. And he's like, okay, this. So that's something that continues to happen. And then he's got to go off and she's going to get plastic surgery. So breast augmentation and get her chin done and her nose done and a whole bunch of stuff. And he pays for it all in cash. And he has all the cash he needs but $72. And for some reason, they won't just do the surgery. They need the $72. So he has a few hours to get it. So he drops her off with a babysitter, a grown woman, and she has a ball and chain and a dog bowl, and it's a whole thing. But of course, I mean, Borat's whole thing is just like catching people in weird circumstances, right? There's not really a plot of the movie. It's we have a plot, and then we catch people reacting to that plot. Anyway, so she while she's waiting with the babysitter, gets a little bit of like women's lib or the feminist movement and decides that she's no longer going to do that. She goes back. She is going to do that. She goes back to get the surgery, but sees women driving and realizes that this little manual that they have for women has lies in it. And then she goes into a Republican women's meeting and hears a lot more things, which is kind of funny to me because I feel like Republican women would be the ones who had the book for how to deal with women and have a lot of the similar stuff in it. But that's neither here nor there. But after talking to those very, empowered women, she goes in the bathroom and for the first time in her life experiments and then comes out and tells them about it. And that is just so awkward. So awkward. But she decides she's going to leave her father. So someone calls her an Uber. She meets her father outside, gets an Uber and leaves. He then is just distraught and decides to go, toss himself around their campsite because they're living in a horse trailer. She has a cage outside because girls sleep in the cage. And he's in the horse trailer that has a bed and stuff in it that was originally made up for the monkey. That was where the monkey was going to live. And now he's living in it. So after a while, he ventures back out and finds that, oh no, quarantine, and convinces some guy to take him home with him. And then we get to see what every average American was doing during quarantine, which is entertaining, but also a little too close to home. Like, hurts my heart just a little bit. But then the campaign for president really kicks up, and they go out to some events, obviously, because Borat is down for it. He is a big Trump supporter, because he's there to influence Trump, right? And he just folds himself in the movement. And again, it's really about getting people's reactions. It's not about the plot. But he eventually reconnects with the daughter. They decide to finally do what they were promised, and that's to offer herself to Mike Pence. But that's not going to happen. So they set their sights on Rudy Giuliani, who is the attorney for Donald Trump. And so she sets up an interview with him because she has gotten a legitimate career as a reporter, which is a real thing that happened in real life. This actress playing this character got a job as a reporter for crazy right-wing news, but neither here nor there also. And then there, of course, the scene you've probably heard stuff about, which is Giuliani and the girl in the bedroom. I'll just talk about it now because it is kind of a spoiler. So what I'll say, I said the same thing on my weekly podcast, OD Anthem. New episodes recorded every Monday, live every Tuesday at odanthem.com, YouTube, everywhere you get podcasts. But what I said was, it is not as bad as they were playing it up to be. It looks to me, and I don't want to be a defender of Rudy Giuliani, but it looks to me like he's just tucking in his shirt. There is some camera angles that are trying to make it look worse than it is. Sacha Baron Cohen as Borat comes kicking the door in and making some pronouncements, but and he said later that he did that to protect his actress, but I really get the feeling like he realized this has gone as far as it's going to go, and he barged in so he could say later, I was worried about the safety of my actress, so I went in and interrupted to give the intimation like it was going to go further, even though we don't see that. Or things did go further, but she pushed it further, and therefore they couldn't really use it, or they did go further, but they were worried about Giuliani suing. So I don't know. It could be any of those things. But what I saw in the film was not as bad as they were portraying it. There is a moment where he puts his hand on her hip, which is not kosher. Absolutely not kosher. But it's one of those things that guys understand that we do, which you can backtrack if you need to. If she's like, whoa, what's that? You can be like, oh, sorry, you were leaning and I was just going to steady you. But if she's into it and she's just like, oh, that hand feels so nice, then you know, like, oh, game on, I can make moves. So I don't really feel bad about that, and I don't really see that as being such a bad thing. And there was a lot made about the fact that she's 15, and we know that watching the movie that she's portraying 15. The actress is not 15. She's much older than 15, and she looks much older than 15 when she's playing the reporter, and Giuliani has no way of knowing that we know that she's 15, or that we think she's 15, or that we know that she's playing 15. Nonetheless, all of the circumstances surrounding it that make it so bad seem really built up. And I don't know how I feel about that. But nonetheless, the final scene of the movie is basically them running away from Giuliani's security out of the hotel and out on the road, and Borat's in this weird outfit, which is actually in the trailer. And I don't know what it's been with movies recently where the final scene has been in the trailer, but there you go. So I don't know how I forgot this, but I'm throwing it in now after the fact as I'm editing. But Borat is actually the source of the coronavirus outbreak. At the beginning, I told you how the monkey went on the cruise and he had to sit in steerage, and so he went all around the world. Well, what we find out at the very end of the movie is that it was a plan by Kazakhstan not actually to give a gift to Trump, but to try and take down all of the West that was, making them depressed, I guess, or holding them down. So their scientists came up with the coronavirus and then sent Borat, after injecting him with it, all around the world to many different ports on the way to New York, where he eventually got off and then was supposed to meet the monkey. And of course, Borat is very upset about this being used in that way, and he goes back to Kazakhstan, and what he does is basically confront the premier and use FaceTime, which he discovered, of course, while he was in America, because between the first movie and this movie, cell phones have become a really big thing, and FaceTime and all of that. So he basically has the guy at the Apple store where he bought the phone recording so that the FaceTime is now part of the record, I guess. But in the end, what it really just comes down to is he records, I can't imagine being that guy in the store, and you're recording what you think is a secret mission, I guess, of a guy getting the person in the government to admit that they are the source of coronavirus and that this guy, their agent, secretly spread it all around the world. And of course, in exchange for keeping this quiet, Borat gets his whole life back and he gets to stay with his daughter, which seems like a good exchange. And they become the #1 news crew, father and daughter news crew in Kazakhstan once again. So anyway, we're at the end of the movie. So I think that's the end of the spoiler section. I do have a lot to say about this movie in total, so I hope you stick around, but we're going to invite everyone back in and wrap up this review right now. So one of my first comments after hearing that there was a Borat 2 was, how are people so dumb that they got fooled by the same character again? And the truth is that they didn't. And that's kind of my overarching first comment, is that this is Borat, subsequent movie film, Borat 2, but it really isn't Borat 2. It's really the Ali G movie 2, or a continuation of a series he did on HBO called Little America, where he dressed up as different characters. Because I saw many of the characters that Borat was dressing up as on that show Little America. And some of them are from the Ali G show, which I watched back when most of you were probably still in middle school or whatever. But so that the truth of the matter is that he is Borat for very little of the movie. For a lot of it, he is Borat dressed up as somebody else. And he's Borat doing a southern accent, to pretend that he's this other guy. And it's weird. It's a weird, meta thing going on. And I don't hate it. I just think that it's not exactly what you might think going in. As well as some of the scenes are what you might think, but you have to check out the spoiler section for that. So if you skipped it, I hope after you watch, you come back, check out what I had to say about the spoilers, because I think you're going to agree with me. But in the end, what I said was, lightning striking really has to be taken with a grain of salt, that we have to compare it in the times in which it comes. And when Borat first came out, it blew me away, and it was doing so amongst a crowded field of movies that were aimed at people like me. Late 20s white guys. But now things are a lot different, and it's been a while since I've been able to watch something new at all. And it was kind of good to see a character I recognized in a new story, in a new way. Again, not really Borat, but Borat playing other characters. But that's the only way you could bring that character back. He actually says at the beginning, he starts walking the streets and people are crying Borat, Borat. Of course they recognize you, man. It's super recognizable. So they play that into the film some, and why he has to get in character, why he dresses like Donald Trump to go meet Mike Pence. And all of that's fine. And it's a character I recognize in setup. America is as terrible as it ever was, and it remains as terrible, and average people are as great and as terrible as you might have thought that they were. This one I feel like is almost less skewed than the first one, because the first one had him singing Kurdish national anthem or the Iraqi national anthem at something, and people stand. There was some terrible stuff at the end when he goes out on the campaign and goes to meetings and rallies and stuff. He says and does some pretty terrible stuff. But for the most part, this is just a statement about America and where we are right now. And yes, we're politically divided, but in the end, we all kind of have the same things in common. And there are some people on the fringe who are a little extreme, but most of us are right here in the middle. And I think that he shows that through the eyes of someone who's not from America. Now, I can tell you, if this was a usual year and it was in the theater, I would have rushed out and still seen it because I do enjoy that character so much. And I just enjoy Sacha Baron Cohen. And even if it's not a 10 out of 10 on the meter, I want to go support the stuff that he does because I want to keep him making more stuff, honestly. And I will say that his daughter was a treat. Maria Bakalova, which I think is her name, I can't remember, but I think she has a long career in front of her, and she is super humble about everything. I followed her on Instagram after I saw her in the movie, and she's super stoked to be like the #1 actress on IMDb right now. And it's like, never thought I would be here, and like people are calling me for roles, and I just don't know how to do all of them. And I'm like, you are exactly what we need. We need like a down-to-earth person. And I'm sure that'll be ruined by this town in just a little while, but for now it's good. It's very nice. But I mean, let's go through our questions. This movie, if you don't like crude humor, if you don't like things being a little out on the fringe, I mean, the poster for it has a guy in a mankini that goes up over his shoulders. I think he also makes a bathing suit out of masks at one point. Like, that was part of the promotional stuff. If none of that sounds funny to you, you're not going to like this movie. If you didn't like the first one, you're definitely not going to like this. If you don't like Ali G or Little America or any of the stuff, if you don't like Sacha Baron Cohen movies, you're not going to like this. It's all the same. He does the same stuff. So avoid it if you don't. But if you like that stuff, then there is nothing to put you off from seeing this movie. It's more of the same. And like I said, I think it interestingly has a good message. It's showing that we are all really the same. We can be led astray in the same ways, kind of, and that there are crazy people on the fringes, but most of us are normal, everyday people, and maybe that's the message we need right now, especially leading up to an election that is likely to be contentious. Actually, no. This episode is coming out after the election, so an election that just happened that is very contentious. So, there's a lot of concerns out in the world, obviously. And we need a movie that we can just sit back and laugh. And by the way, yet another movie that everyone can agree on. There was no problems agreeing to watch this movie. So, again, if it sounds like it doesn't violate for you, if you're not the people who are going to be disturbed by that kind of Sacha Baron Cohen movie making, look, you probably saw him in Talladega Nights, if nothing else, and in that he plays a French guy who is gay, NASCAR racer who kisses his husband and also Ricky Bobby for, whatever reasons, and acts just kind of like out of sorts. That was crude humor then. I don't think he would do it now, but it's that kind of vein of crude humor. Like, nothing's too off, but it's also just weird, really. So if you're not put off by that, go watch this. It's on Amazon. It's available for streaming. I'll have a link down in the show notes below. Go watch it. It's worthwhile, and we need to support films like this that just kind of aim to bring us together, not drive us apart, especially in times like these. And in times like these, we also need a lot of content. I, of course, have a lot of content here on the channel. I hope you check that out when you get a chance. The dark days of winter are coming. Daylight savings time officially over. So that means a lot of darkness in our future. When those dark nights hit, I hope that there's plenty of things here for you to enjoy. And if there's not enough content to satiate you here, I do a podcast every single day, Rob Explains, where we talk about cool, random, and interesting things. I just did a history of Mischief Night, Halloween, Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, and All Hallows Day, All Souls Day, All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve, that kind of thing. So that's out there, as well as just some regular episodes on what are idioms and how do they come about. It's all kinds of cool random stuff. You're going to find that at Rob Explains on social media, Rob Explains on Anchor, and on YouTube. But thank you for joining me for yet another episode. I'm looking forward to bringing you another episode on Sunday, so make sure you check that out. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great week, everybody.